And Mr. Walker has just informed us that as the regarding the hospital access road, the MD has passed their portion, depending upon whether the province ends up their extra amount also. So. All right then, the next item of business is the Fireman's Ball. So, would somebody like to make a motion on this? Councillor Carrier?
I make a motion that council approve Councillor Long's attendance at the Fireman's Ball being held at the Legion Hall in Prairie, Alberta on April 26, 2014.
All right, any discussion on this? Yes, Councillor Long?
It'll be zero cost. I've already purchased my ticket, and so it would be a privilege.
Yes, I really enjoyed it last year. So, all right then. Could we have all in favor? That's carried.
Thanks, guys.
All right. The next item of business is the CAO's report. Should I have a motion then? Yes, Councillor Carrier?
I move that council receives CAO Kelly Tamakulo's written and verbal report and action list for information.
Okay, questions on this report? Yes.
A couple of things I want to bring to attention. I don't know whether Councillor Panasik is still interested in the issue of the council times.
I am.
Yeah, so I just read up my report in case you wanted to talk about it. And then the Children's Resource Council, Councillor Prairie wants to, he doesn't want to be part of it anymore. So I didn't think we were going to be asking for an RFP, so I just part of the report and if he wants to speak to it.
Okay.
And then the meeting, then after that I can talk about the meeting with local Tom Hoffman. We'd like to meet with our council at Smithy's on June the 4th. And we'd like to know whether we want breakfast or lunch. So those are the two things, main things that, three things that
I can maybe just talk about the meeting times.
Okay.
If that's one. I know we've been pressed for time and not going, past 11. We wanted to wrap up. So, and we need more time to get through most of our agendas. It's been a trend, and we're always feeling pushed and rushed. So I'm just wondering if there's something that we can do to make that change. And there's many different options. Like one option would be to meet during the day. A second option would be to start earlier. A third option would be to add in an extra, instead of meeting every second week, we could change it to, or meet every second week instead of the fourth and the second and the fourth Wednesday, which would give us a few more meetings during the year. There's all kinds of options, but I think we should be looking at some of them, and starting earlier perhaps might give us, instead of starting at 7, maybe starting at 6. So I just wanted to throw that out there because we're always pressed for time. It seems like we get to the end of the agenda and we're pushing things through faster than we probably should be.
Councillor Long?
I don't mind starting earlier, having longer meetings. What I would recommend is, because perception is everything out there, we have a 2-tier stage of, we go over 4 hours, we get an extra XYZ amount of dollars. I would recommend that we go with a flat rate of, this is what we get per meeting, period. $150, whether it's 4 hours, 2 hours, it does not exceed that we don't. I just think that, yes, our time is important, and yes, we all have things to do, but I can't justify myself personally putting in the extra dollars, requesting from taxpayers because we're taking too long on the meetings. That would just be my concern, and I would make a motion down the road if we need to revisit our structure and have a flat rate and not a 2-tier system.
Okay, Councillor Rose?
I like the idea of starting earlier. meeting, but I'm prepared to sit through a longer meeting, and I do like your idea, and I think I've done that before, and we looked at other councils that do that, and I think that that does stop the looking at the clock and saying, do we have to make a motion to go longer? We can go 15 minutes longer, go an hour longer, however long we need to get through, but it's just a one flat fee, no matter how long the meeting is, so. But yeah, I'd totally be on board for three either option, Brian, starting earlier, or, I don't love the idea of every 2 weeks, adding another meeting, but we could.
I'm just saying, it just seems like we're always rushed, and our agendas are big. We're not getting through some of them, or we're rushing through them. That's why I'm saying we need to look at some options so that we're not feeling as rushed.
Councillor Long?
I would be happy to sit with Councillor Janasic and whomever, to sit as an ad hoc committee to come up with some suggestions for council. Maybe we can sit together for lunch at A&W or whatever, or
I'm not sure if that is, if that's allowed, as in, ad hoc committee.
It's not a good practice.
Mr. Tomato?
May I just add a little bit of I'm so sorry. Okay, you want to say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. I mean, just from practice and just by today, you can see that you're getting much better. I mean, it's just a matter of time. You've come through so much orientation, 69 recommendations, so much on your agenda. Most people haven't done this. You can see that the chair has handled the meeting today. It's very expeditious. I think we should give you some time again to see how better you're getting. Because the more you get better, the more the hours will run faster, and you won't be doing 4 hours. Just from the experience that I have. And it's been an excellent meeting. Now, that we give you a little bit more try.
This is so small.
Because we don't have the recommendations, the policies, the 69 recommendations are all now being part of it. So that's my.
Councillor Panassi?
I was just gonna say that doesn't preclude starting earlier, so that if we wanted to go later, we could. Because I mean, and it is true, by 11 o'clock at night, I'm not on my game, I know that. You work all day and then you go all night, you're not sure.
Councillor Carrier?
I'd be more than happy to entertain a one rate for these meetings. And I have to agree with Mr. Knopf has been saying, we've gone through the budget, which took forever. There was so much discussion on it, back and forth. I think things are going to get quicker and better.
Councillor Demanka?
I like both ideas. I like the idea of starting earlier, and I like the idea of just having a flat rate, because then you're not figuring out, okay, so it's 405, so that's this much, and it's under 4, it's this much. So I like both ideas, and I'm in support of both of them.
I'm hesitant to do anything without Councillor Emmett here, because I'm not sure
What
what
nights
his
you are
work.
we having our meeting real quick? Just saying.
No, he has his job sometimes he has trouble meeting getting here, and I'm sure you do too sometimes.
yes, I've got a very gracious employer that allows me to if I need to, but by the same token, it puts a stress on the other employees who have to fill in when I'm not there. So
I'm thinking Mr. Tomato is right in this, to let it go a little bit longer and see how we function a little bit more on this.
And can I ask why? Is it starting earlier is a problem for people? Is that like starting at 6 even?
Well, I don't think Mr. Councillor Empter is able to get here at 6.
I work till 5:30, so you'd see me in my work clothes. Not these.
Nothing
And
fancy does.
I'm not.
I don't mind wearing my work clothes because that's what I'm most comfortable in.
I know, but unfortunately, council is supposed to be a little bit more.
And I wouldn't have time to have a shower either.
that's an issue.
So all right, so that was something, and maybe bring it back as an agenda item to be actually, because at this point, it's not, it's just something that we want to discuss. All right, so we have 3 options, think about it. Next one is Children's Resource Council and you wish to be relieved, is there anyone that is interested, or did you talk to any councilors?
I have not yet, just Monday nights are very sacred to me, that's my firefighting night, and I'm not doing justice to the CRC. So I think it's not fair for me to be trying to balance the two things, and unfortunately firefighting kind of comes first in my heart, so.
That's not unfortunate.
Councillor Rose?
How, is it just once a month they're meeting?
Yeah, it's the last Monday of every month.
Councillor Duranta?
I guess my question is that a committee that we need to have somebody on?
It probably is now, because the MD has just given them the $35,000.
Okay.
At least until the building is.
And as I expressed my concern, and I think a few councillors didn't think I expressed it well, but I still have a concern that there's a lack of expertise, building expertise going on in that organization. And the $70,000 that has been given to secure the 300,000 maybe is not being helpful to them. I mean, it is helpful to them in the sense that yes, the building is a possibility, but are we setting them up for failure by doing this kind of thing? And the MD has said, no, they are not going, they put no strings on their money. So no engineering help, no overview, no project management, no anything. The same as ours, there were no strings on ours also, except that the MD had to buy in. Councilor Rose, did you?
I was just gonna say that I would be willing to continue Trevor's term, because this is only a few more months before we are looking at rotating, right? We're only sitting on committees for 8 months.
1 year.
Is it 8 months or 1 year? I thought deputy mayor was 8 months and then committees for 1 year.
October will be the time to review.
Yes, so it would be until October.
Well, it was 8 months. Yeah, that's on the order.
But I don't know if they meet during the summer.
Just with respect to the fact that we have approved that grant, the MD's approved that grant, and I have had conversations with some of the board members as well as the executive director regarding the issues of impact, so I have some familiarity with what that one issue in, so unless somebody else is.
Who's the alternative? The alternate?
Thought, Councillor Emter was at one point interested in it, wasn't he? Alternate Emter. There you go. Maybe we should wait for the next meeting and ask Councillor Emter if he's interested.
I'll put it as an RFP.
Right, yes. Okay. All right. And the next one is the meeting with local Tom Hoffman. Now he's coming through and he just wants to bring us up to date on what's happening.
Exactly.
Okay, so June 4th is a Friday and I will not be able to attend, so now you can wear your suit.
And I'd be able to attend Fridays.
June 4th is not a Friday.
June 4th is a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a good one.
June 4th? Most people have July 4th.
Rest of the year.
July 4th, yeah, no, June, July 4th. June 4th.
Wednesday.
Oh,
I'm fine with either time from my perspective.
so,
Lunch is better.
lunch,
That would be my preference.
Councilor Carey, lunch?
Sounds good.
Lunch. Then no lunch, please?
No problem.
And, lunch where?
Smitty's.
Somebody said, yes, we did.
So we're talking 12.
I can still have my breakfast.
Yeah, 11:45.
I'll send him an email and I'll copy you all. So
Yes, please. All right. All right. Action items. Are there any questions on the action items of the report? I have one question on page 2, motion 191/14, moved by Councillor Enter, Council Direct Administration to investigate meeting times for the MD of Big Lakes, Town of High Prairie, and Peabody Meat Settlement to discuss Seal Lake Road. That was from March the 12th. Has there been any action on that?
I'm yet to talk to Krista when she gets back, whether she's made any contact. But yesterday, the MD did agree that they will make contact with them.
All right, and I think I was talking to East Prairie Gerald Cunningham, and actually, I'm thinking that, I think that we as a council should go as a delegation to East Prairie, Gift Lake, and Peavine and meet those councilors. Those are day meetings, those that wish to attend. We could go as a delegation and meet. I mean, it's now been 6 months, 8 months, and we haven't met them yet. It's time. So I think after this, I'd like to make a motion that administration set up delegation times for us to go and get back to us as to those that can attend can attend. But you know, this we have to see. They're going to be our partners, and we're not building any relationships yet with them. Yes.
May I suggest, as the chair, the mayor, I think it will be incumbent upon you to call the chair
Okay.
and start building a relationship with the chair of the VT of East Prairie and Peabody. It's from that it works, and even give it. So, yes, setting up a meeting and showing up sometimes is not the way it works, but your relationship building with
Mr. Cunningham from East Prairie has
Yeah.
asked, he'd be more than happy to have the council come to meet his councilors. So I will talk again with him and find out when his meeting date is,
is that okay then, yeah.
and then I will give you the information and you can distribute it out to the councilors.
Exactly.
All right? And I have another one. Special meeting of council, April 10th, 2014, utility pricing and review, moved by Councilor Tanaka, the Council Direct Administration, to draft the utilities pricing policy for consideration at our meeting April 23rd. And I do not see
Yeah, this
what
time,
happened here.
I will apologize for that. I talked to the treasurer, and we just completing the financial statements to bring forward to us for this year. So we should expect it at the next meeting in May. So I apologize for that.
As part of this utility pricing policy, could you also provide us with the top 10, 15, top 15 water users in the town of High Prairie and their water consumption? I would like to know who are impacted with this policy, if we do any increases. So that's the top 15 water users in this town and what the water consumption is. Does the sewer consumption have any impact, Mr. Walker? Would that be information that would be relevant?
Yes, because most of your high users are going to be businesses, and their sewer bill is based on the flat rate plus a percentage of the water used.
Okay, so then also the 15 top sewer, which probably would be the same, but may not be,
It should be
should correlate.
based upon water usage, although West Fraser now uses water for the cooling of their saws, and they are a big user. And then you would look at the co-ops are probably the next biggest users.
Car washes.
Then the car washes and laundromat and those types of, and schools and hospital institutions.
And then down to the hotels.
And hotels, yes, as well.
So, yeah, so giving us 15 should give us a pretty good idea of who we're impacted.
Yep.
Okay? So, now do you want a motion? I should make a motion.
Okay.
Are you sure?
No, it's okay. We already are doing this, and you're asking for top 15 water users and sewer. That should be so easy to do.
All right. And is there any other type of information that councilors feel is relevant in helping you make decisions on this?
That's a good start. I like the idea. It gives us a clarity and a good understanding of where the resource is going and how it's being utilized and what we're getting for it.
Mr. Walker?
Being that we have a gas system too, it might be, and I know that council's looking at the rates for gas, it might be wise to have a look at the top 15 users of gas as well.
All right. So also that, the top 15 users of gas. And this utilities pricing policy will also give us steps as to what we have to do regulatory wise to increase our prices.
I don't know what the context are, how to talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the policy context.
Mr. Walker?
Madam Chair, I did discuss this with the AEC, and as long as you treat, say we'll use the water co-ops as an example, as long as you treat each water co-op the same, you can set your rate at whatever it is. It's just to make sure that what they would be involved in is that everybody is treated the same. Say if you were raising the rate for institutional, every institution would have to be charged that price. Residents would have to be charged the same rate. You can't charge, say, Councillor Rose a different rate than Councillor Long. It all has to, where they qualify in that rate, they all have to be treated equally.
How long is the notification period, right? Like you have to give notice that the rates are going to change?
For the water co-ops, I think it's 6 months as part of the intermunicipal agreement. As far as changing the rates for residential, that's up to council.
Well, where does the EUV come into this?
It's if there's a rate challenge, that's say, using the co-ops again as an example, that you're charging the Northeast co-op 273 cubic meter, but you're charging the Southeast one 293, then they would be involved. Because if there was a challenge, they would say, no, those co-ops need to be treated the same and they should pay the same price.
When was the last time we raised rates?
For water, would have been 2 years ago.
Okay, because I was talking to the town of Stedman. They gave me the treasurer's card to discuss this because they said there's more to it than what you think there is.
Yes, and there was a rate study done in 2002, I think it was, and I've passed that on to the treasurer.
Okay, so 2002, we did a rate study and it had some good, did it have an executive summary?
It did have a summary, but our infrastructure has changed since 2002, because I know you have to, you can set your rate to have so much profit put aside to replacement of your infrastructure, and that's contained in the calculations. And I know that's what Herb is looking at, because he wants to fund amortization, which is basically would be your profit margin to replace your infrastructure.
Well, actually, I would use the profit to bring down taxes. Isn't that why we're running these systems, is to?
But
Not,
they are cost recovery. Or
Cost
more,
recovery is
then
nothing.
obviously it's going to be bringing down taxes instead of the tax dollars supporting them.
yes.
So, I mean,
Cost recovery would be just making the system break even, including amortization, making a profit. after
You're
cost
allowed to
recovery.
make, you're allowed to make a small profit margin, and that's for future expansion as well as funding your infrastructure replacement. But in the MGA, it also discusses your rates in there as well, and the setting of your utility
All right.
rates.
Well, we'll wait then for this policy to come back. And when did you say it would be?
The next meeting. The next meeting.
The next meeting, so that's May 11th.
Very long, yes. Just a quick note, I don't forget this point, that we've done a global investigation of where prices of water, prices of sewer will be if we try to do, this pricing change. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a big challenge. Because as soon as you having amortization, the per unit costs are so horrendous. It's not funny. Just to let you be aware of that.
So maybe our infrastructure amortization is not, it's too short. Because again, how long are we advertising this over? 25 years, and pipes are lasting 50.
Our amortization is based on the standard of municipal standards, because that's how we derive our TCA from. So we're using the same standard like anybody else to derive the tangible capital.
It's very similar to a house. A house is mortgaged for 25 years, but then it's mortgaged again for another 25, and it's probably mortgaged again for another 25. So a house does last 75 years, and yet we amortize it only over 25, because that's what the law says. You can only go 25 years. So, but a house lasts 50 to 75, and some houses last 100 to 150 years, depending on how you maintain it. Mr. Walker?
In regards to the TCA, I just caution council that a lot of these pipes in the ground are 50 years old and they have reached their life expectancy. So we're running on borrowed time.
Exactly. All right, so we have a motion, do we?
Yep.
To accept the report for information, all in favor? I presume there were no more questions. All right. Okay, the next report is the mayor's report, I believe. And there's a few spelling mistakes. Okay, we're not gonna get grain moving, we're moving grain. And I see that the period was April 2nd, April 16th, it's at the bottom of the page. But other than that, those were 2 meetings that I attended. And they were very well received. I find that I've been going to enough of them now that I know the people there and they know the town of Prairie, and they actually, I think town of Prairie is actually the most easterly town that goes to the meetings. So town of Slave Lake is a member of the Northern Alberta elected leaders, but doesn't really go. So I don't know if they have the same interests that we do here with agriculture and forestry. Say agriculture, because that's where the western municipalities are involved. So I move my report for information. If there's any other questions, yes, Councillor Long.
With the west road from Fort Mac through Wampscott to the coast, is that, as well as moving Grin, is it also being looked at as an alternative route to the Northern Gateway?
They are actually talking about buying enough right of way to make it a corridor for power, pipeline, and so that connector has been talked about for the last 10 years, but it's now it's gearing up to become possibly a reality. So.
If we can get that through to the coast quicker, we can get Seal Lake paved. And that's
Yeah,
not,
isn't that something? Anyways.
if you're listening to anybody. No province.
The Northern Alberta Development Council meeting, at the summer meeting, no, actually it was not. I attended a meeting after the Lesser Slave Lake Economic Alliance meeting where Gerald Cunningham came forward regarding the East Prairie Media Settlement Road. And the East Prairie Media Settlement has hired a consultant to provide some routes, has spent money, and at a higher level has come up with 4 routes to get out of East Prairie going south. And after Gerald talked to the consultant, there was more discussion, and I think he's going back to see if he can get some money from the province through Media Settlements to look at 2 routes. One is going south of East Prairie and then doglegging over to Swan Hills, about there's an existing forestry road that is going west out of Swan Hills, and then they would meet up in a kind of a square. And then the other road is going south from East Prairie and veering over to the west and coming out at Fox Creek. Because again, the power development and the coal mine possibility there makes it look good. Ken Noski from Meeta Settlement was there, and he was interested in that because that would again connect with Sealer. And it would come off of Highway 43, Fox Creek, and then go north. So I mentioned this at the Intermunicipal Negotiating Committee, and the MD is not really supportive at this point. They're waiting to see what information comes forward, but they are worried that it is a road that they will not have jurisdiction over, similar to the Sea Lake. Jurisdiction is a stumbling block in many cases. So that's why they'll wait to see what East Prairie brings forward. Okay? All in favor of accepting my report for information? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next motion, or the next report is Councillor Carrier's.
I'll have my report at the next meeting.
Pardon?
I'll have my report at the next meeting.
Okay, so we will pass now to Councillor Janaka.
Report is there. Attended volunteer appreciation dinner hosted by the MD. It's somewhat disappointing for the amount of people that actually showed up. There was about 40 people nominated, probably 6 actually were there, the rest of their spouses and whatever. It was very nice, but it's kind of disheartening with the attendance of those that were nominated that either were unable or had other commitments or whatever.
Volunteering.
They were busy volunteering.
They could have been. They could have been.
Anything else you'd like to bring to our attention on the report?
The library meeting is pretty much self-explanatory what took place. Strategic planning meeting, we were all there. You know, what we're doing, coming with the next steps, and I guess my concern with some of the things that we want to implement is we've got some hurdles to cross in achieving what we want to implement regarding the website and how we just leverage those things.
What is the next step on the strategic plan now? What are we doing?
What we need to do is, I need to put in the format as the old one, just a little bit more decorative, right? The vision, the mission, the guiding principles, and the strategic priorities, and then the business plan to be applied to departments. And so get more decoration stage, and then bring that to council for approval.
Okay. So that will be a longer meeting. Will it?
No, because you've already in principle decided it already.
Okay, going back to I have a question regarding the library. The board is looking at a bylaw relating to memberships being free. And this will be brought forward at the next meeting. Are you going to a free membership for the library?
They are really going to give that a serious look, because when Bonnie was up, and it was in my last report from last meeting that we didn't get to, Bonnie kept reiterating to them that we were basically a service, and she had said that a lot of the libraries are going away from that, but it's something that they're going to be discussing at their next policy and procedure meeting. I don't know if it's a definite.
The input, I believe that, the input that I have is my personal opinion. I think that this is a horrible thought. The services that the library provides is not just for the town and the MD. It's for the entire region, and there's a lot of people outside of this region that are not paying anything for that service. So by the membership capturing, at least we are getting some money back in again. So if they feel that they can do without their membership, and then come back to the town and the MD and ask for us to make up the difference, I think that they are really going to be barking up the wrong tree. However, other people might have a different opinion of this. So, Councillor Long?
Having been on library boards many years, a quick history lesson. After the rebellion of 1837 in Lower Canada, Quebec, at the time,
We're going
way back. It was at that point in time that that we guaranteed that public education would be a fundamental cornerstone in Canada, and that people would have the right, the unfettered right and access to public education. At the same time, public libraries were brought forward in that motion. And so we, as a country, were founded and started to develop our social contract with the people. And the cornerstone of any good education system is unfettered access to public library systems. So I believe that removing the fees from a public library, that was the intent all along. And so
So who bears the cost of this?
we as a society do, and so as representatives of this society, we, the taxpayers, i.e. the town councils of the day, help offset those costs. And the education system should. I don't believe that kids should have to pay for basketball and volleyball and bus trips and field trips. Unfettered access to education means just that. And it's every child's right to have that, and every person's right to have that access to education. Therefore, there shouldn't be fees to the libraries. And that's my pontification on that. So,
Anyhow,
I take it you disagree with me though. It is 2014.
2014.
A few things have changed since.
I
And
get
if
it.
you look at the services that the library is now moving into, you know, I mean, we're 2014 and we are becoming a library that is costing a bit of money.
Cost of being an urban magnet.
Yes, indeed. So anyways, you know, it's certainly something that they should be discussing before they pass a bylaw when their chief funding is the MD. Their only funding in related to taxes, well, I can't say that either because the province does fund them, but maybe their only local funding is the MD and the town treasurer. Also, before I go back, I believe sometimes people put too much emphasis on experts. The board will be looking at the policy and procedure meeting for donations of books. Now, this is a policy that has been going on for many, many years. People have been bringing gently used books, and actually they look brand new because they've only been read once. And the library as a charitable institution has purchased those books from those people and given them a tax receipt. Carrie has stated it is not worth the risk from her point of view. Well, that's really fine for you to sit there and say that, Carrie. The chances of an audit are like, what, 1 in 10 million in the, so Revenue Canada looks at these, and if they audit the library, if the receipt is more than the value of the item, how are you going to do that? Like the value of the item, after it's been sent out, used, destroyed, or whatever, gee, I don't think that item was worth $26.99, but that's what you paid for, it doesn't look like it now. I mean, it's just about impossible. Mind you, they might come and say, well, you should only give it 10% of the value because it was a used book. I think, anyways, so that would be another that is how the library is getting some of their new books, is from people that are bringing them in and saying, here, take this book, and give me a charitable receipt, which costs nothing for the library, and they get books. Cost the government county.
Yes, I was at a meeting, and I think it's more a question of best practice than anything else. That's what Kelly was speaking to. I guess we're still on the cover, so we need to respect CRA's rules.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Kerry is trying to talk about in terms of best practice, what the rules are, and how to follow the rules. And also damage the library.
So if the library gets audited, we have you to thank for that.
Definitely. Let me tell you, people coming out to Northern Alberta will never. All right, could you move for information, if there's any other questions?
I move my report for information.
All in favor? Carried. Councillor Enter is not here. Councillor Long.
Just a verbal report. Again, I as well attended the volunteer appreciation dinner. The attempt and the effort was made, and it was a good one. And they had wonderful entertainment, and those people that were there, I think, really enjoyed it. So my hat's off for them trying to get some excitement instilled into our volunteer groups. Strategic planning, excited about that, and I see lots of potential for us. Lots of work, but I think the community will be, and the town will function better as a result of that. That's about it, I think. Short and sweet.
Would you move for information?
I would move that for information.
All in favor? Carried. Councillor Panasic.
That was pretty long-winded here, so I handed out my report. Just because we didn't do the reports last meeting, there was the March 25th to 28th in there when I was at the Alberta Senior Citizens Housing Association Conference, or ASHA in short, and it was a very interesting conference, and it was quite good. And one of the key things is we met with the Assistant Deputy Minister for Municipal Affairs Housing Division. And one of the things that I think we should do, that we did with that group, is we sent our questions to him ahead of time. So when we walked in, he knew exactly what we wanted to ask. He knew where we wanted to go. So it was a really good way when we're meeting with the ministers and ADMs to have those questions there ahead. So he knew, he was prepared to talk about them. It was really good. I think that's something that we need to make sure we do in the future. Yeah, you know, in any meetings that we have, make sure that they're, get a good heads up about what we're going to talk about. I think it was really good that way. And as one of the other things that came out of that is, you know, we sort of asked, you know, we didn't just go with our hand out and say, what are you going to give me? It was, you know, what can we do for you, and look at, you know, what directions is municipal affairs going with in the housing. And they gave us what they were doing and the changes they were making. We were able to get them to commit that way to helping us do some of our planning using their new model. So that was really good in that, you know, they're going to come down to Heart River Housing and do some planning session with us, fit it into their new template that they're using. And so we get that help basically for free. So that was one of the things that came out of it, which was really, really good. This new budgeting model that's being developed for them. And they've got a new, it's called HAL, it's a new computer program, but I won't go into that too much more. Really surprised at what a big business senior housing is, and especially in there, like it opened my eyes, and we did a tour of some of the senior housing complexes, and it's just amazing, like, and amazing how much money's being spent on living in these, you know, in the housing that they have. Like You know, we walked into the one tour there, we said, oh, you know, how do you like it here? Oh, it's great, and why did you pick this place? Oh, I had my secretary research it, and they selected this. And, you know, we found out that, you know, to stay in that way, they were paying like, just about $8,000 a month, and, you know, they had great services, and it was pretty nice there. Nothing, you know, like what we provide, it was at a whole nother level. And of course, a whole nother level of price structure too. But it brought up the questions of whether we, you know, in the north should be giving people those options. I mean, you've got people like Councillor Rose that might want to live in that fashion in a few more years. And can afford it. So. What else can I say on that? I think that's it. There is the key things on there. Those are the key things. Some of those other meetings I attended. I wanted to comment on the radio. Was on the radio station there and talked on the SPIMA. Very interesting because I ended up with all kinds of people that sent me emails, people had left phone messages. When I got to work, I already had 3 phone messages. So it was quite interesting, and it got some results. You knew people were listening to the radio. I had lots of people come up, oh, I heard you on the radio, and blah, 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 you know, like. So I think that's really something as a council that we should continue to look at and go in there. Like they were very open to, you know, and suggested maybe we go in there every couple of weeks just to do a town council update. And any contentious issues or interesting things that we'd want to get out. It was good, and you could tell some people were listening to it, and they all have their thoughts, and so that was a good thing. And then the other meeting was a Heart River Housing meeting, just on April 17th. Basically, they did their audit on that day. They're doing a CAO evaluation somewhere. They're developing a process for that. I put it on SurveyMonkey for them, the questionnaire, and it's getting sent to all the board members and all of the staff, the managers that deal with. So that's an interesting way of doing it. And I like the idea of doing more of a 360, and I know that I don't know if our policy states that with the CAO evaluation for the town, but I think we should be looking at that. I don't think our policy excludes it, but when we start to do the evaluation, that's something that I think we should be including some of these guys, you know, from the town and the managers to get their feedback too, and then bring that all together when we talk to Kelly about those things. Heart River Housing's in discussions with both the college and Northland School Division regarding some housing in Broward, of taking them over and managing the housing, renting them out, and doing some things like that. So that's a new, it might come around that they're going to.
Don't they already have houses in Broward?
They do.
So this would be more.
This would be an additional, I think there's 5 houses with Northlands, and I think there's about 7 with the college, so it'd be about another 12 or 13.
Is that their student housing?
No, it would,
Teachers.
yeah, well, we have housing there that could be used for students and families. We have family housing units, but we also have houses. And it's a lot of staff that's renting some of those houses now. And they just, you know, it's being managed by the college, but they don't want to be in the rental business. They're thinking of getting out of that business, right? And turning it over and letting somebody that does housing look after it. So that's one of the things they're discussing and looking at. And one of the things that I should do is make sure I get official permission to attend the Canadian Housing and Renewal Association Conference in Edmonton on April 29th to May 2nd, which is coming up. That is the federal conference for housing. The ASHA is the provincial one. It's sort of like AUMA versus FCM. So this is the FCM version, and they're sending, they wanted to send more because it's local this year, it's in Edmonton. Other times it's in different areas of the province, and I'm able to attend on this year. It's been a good year because I've had to use up a lot of vacation time at the college. They had to get rid of their vacation liability, so this was a week I was able to take off to go to that. And again, just like the other one, they will be covering the fees for the conference fees and the room. And
So it's just the honorarium?
So it's just the honorarium that would need to be approved. So I guess I'd like to have a motion to approve that.
Okay, just a minute before you start that. That'll come after his do we have any other questions on this report? I have one question regarding the housing analysis, the needs analysis for our region. I've had a few people ask me, because of the long waiting list for community housing in Prairie, why does the Heart River Housing not, why do we not have more community housing?
Well, it's a matter of costs. Just the bottom line. They have been applying for some more, trying to get more, have not been able to get it. One of the things that's happened is a lot of the housing units that they have are owned by the feds. And they're very ineffective, and they're trying to turn those over, like the feds want to sign those over to the province, and the province would essentially turn them over to the housing associations that look after them. But to turn those houses over, they end up losing, they don't have, they have to pay for some of them, so eventually they're buying these things for nothing, so the province doesn't want to sign with them. And so right now, having houses is an inefficient way of doing it. What Heart River Housing would like to do is build some bigger complexes so that they could house 15 families in one unit. So there's only one heating system, and get away from yards and all of the upkeep that goes with individual houses, and build it. They've done all kinds of research that they would save thousands of dollars. So that's their goal, is to get some of that, and of course that comes with a lot of money, and they don't have it. That's the bottom line.
So when they do this needs assessment, is it going to come out that we need more community housing?
I don't know what's going to come out of it. I mean, it's a needs assessment.
Well, okay, so if it does come out, then now we show the need, will Heart River then try to apply for?
Well, they're already applying. They know that there's a need in this community. This would be looking at some of the other communities too that Heart River serves, not just Prairie. But I think it gives some more backing to their applications for this housing, right? If they've got a recent study that says there's this need, they've got more background or more clout when they approach the government for funding.
Because I guess the thing is, when Mr. Pratt came and gave us his presentation from Heart River Housing, he basically said that the community housing was fulfilling, the needs were being fulfilled, that they really didn't need any more community housing because it would affect the market in High Prairie if they brought more community housing into High Prairie. At least that's what I heard him say.
Something to that effect, not quite. But he mentioned they don't want to compete against people who are renting homes and renting out things. I think with a multiplex type family housing, I have mixed feelings. They have lots of them in Chicago, they're called projects. So I think it's really important that we don't fall into that sort of stereotypical housing arrangement, but the potential is magnificent. It's just,
They have lots of issues with, how many, the size of the units, right? They need a selection of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3, 4 bedrooms, depending on how many kids they have. And right now, when you have a 4-bedroom house, you can't put a single mother with a child in there. They simply can't keep it up, right? And so you have to have that mix of housing units. And I think they have more of the bigger ones. They need to get a few of the smaller ones that they can use to accommodate.
Well, the fourplexes they built 4 years ago, those fourplexes looked good, and I think Harbor Rooms, they were a good project, good match.
Yeah.
And they look good, and so anyways, if you can take that forward, then I think, we're interested in seeing the needs analysis, because I think that there is more of a need for community housing.
And that's the other thing that did come out of that meeting with the minister is that, we'll help you with that.
Good.
So,
Okay, any other questions, Councilor Long?
I would like to just make a motion that,
We have to accept this report for information.
I move that we accept this for information.
All in favor? That's carried. And now,
I make a motion that we allow Councilor Knasik to attend the CHRA Edmonton Conference, April 29th to May 2nd, and that the honorary will be provided for him.
all in favor? That's carried. You have to vote too. Sure, you would vote, I guess.
Just wanted to, I also had done this up with, talking with Debbie to do a sort of a town council newsletter that got started a couple of weeks ago there. This was sort of another version of it, and I just wanted any feedback and input and what would make that better. I don't know if we can go through it all now, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that that's one of the, and I know Kelly's just got it today and he wants to sort of review it and stuff too, so. But any comments, changes, feedback, let me know within, I'll say, a couple of days, and then we'll get it out there and go from there.
Mr. Tanaka?
The enhanced policing program has been approved.
Oh.
So who's
Somebody, you to sign it. Oh, you did, yeah. Yeah,
You didn't say anything?
we all signed, I signed, somebody signed, so.
who's all partners in it now? Did we?
The town and I.
Oh, that's it.
MPNS, yes.
Okay, because there was some,
I thought maybe we got money.
Oh, no. The enhanced policing program.
Oh, I thought you were talking
About
getting
that,
the
oh,
money.
no, we got rejected.
Of course, it did.
So we got rejected.
oh, I was thinking that there might have been another partner joining us, because there was some talk of that, and that didn't come around either.
No.
Like, there was some talk Beeline might join in on that.
We didn't know, we provided 100 and we provided 200 for the 300,000.
Mr. Long, did you have something to say? No? Okay. Well,
Just to, because you put it.
Well, I did, because that's something that I know that we wanted to try and keep some of the highlights of the budget so that the people know what's going on, right? Like, that's the whole idea, what's the key points of the budget.
how long is that for? 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, okay. I guess that will be for the new council at the end of 3 years, probably, almost. No, will be still us? Okay,
It's good to know that it's a safe and secure community.
safe and secure community.
It's one of our goals.
You will be able to walk
And it
in.
is.
Yes.
It's one of our strategic planning goals.
Yeah.
Good to know, yeah, very good.
All right,
Madam Mayor, before we
yes,
make a motion, we extend our meeting past 11 o'clock, we still have to do Councilor Roses, plus we're doing in camera. We had to spend a whole night aside for this in camera meeting, so.
be unanimous to go past 11?
if we need it.
Sure.
All right, all in favor? Boy, we're pretty sure we're not ready.
Just ask, yeah, just had a nice, long, healthy conversation on the last.
Yeah, I was too lengthy.
We're winding down. Counselor Rose?
Like that.
So I provided you guys this little report here, and some of the highlights would be, on April the 2nd, a few of us actually went to an intergovernmental meeting. And, that's something that we've talked about before, which is a collaboration, and it's an attempt at trying to make a larger collaboration with First Nations communities and the MD in the town and a number of other user groups. Some of the things coming out of that is that they've made contact with municipal affairs, Indian affairs, NABC, FCM, and potentially other levels of government and dignitaries that are interested in seeing successful collaboration. They're pretty excited about the idea of a large group and one voice in our area, and we're seeing all sorts of support because of that. We have a meeting on May the 7th, and Indian Affairs and Municipal Affairs are supposed to be in attendance.
What time?
It is at 10 a.m.
And we're at?
The MD, I believe. I think it's at the MD.
Yeah, that's what.
We'll just double check on that, but I think
That's
that's,
what we changed.
yeah, it is, eh?
So you'll send emails out?
Well, I'm just inviting everybody now, like like, what, Kelly said?
That's your show.
Yeah, I just don't have nothing to do with, like, he doesn't have any of the information, it's not being given to Kelly, I don't think, at this point.
It's still that type of mental stuff.
Okay. Well, so,
So between us, we send it.
So at this point, the MD's been handed sort of the lead on it, and they're getting it approved through their council. And probably then we will probably see some emails, but if that doesn't come in time, there is a meeting on the 10th, or on the 7th at 10 a.m. And all councils encouraged. At this point, it'd be really great to get as many people to come to these meetings as possible. And that sort of links into the next meeting that I discussed here, which was with NABC, and that was when we sat in Kelly's office and discussed with the Northern Alberta Development Council what their role is and what they're doing, what they wanted to see. They wanted to see what we were doing in the area and how they can be useful, and they were all over this idea. They talked some already with Daniel Snyder at the MD, and they sort of volunteered at that point that if we wanted to see them come forward as a neutral facilitator, that they would be interested in becoming part of this group and facilitating it. The other thing that was, although there was lots of stuff that we chatted with them about that day, the other thing that was kind of exciting was that I talked about trying to mimic their scholarship program, that they have a return service scholarship program with NABC for kids coming back to the north and actually working in the area or after they received a scholarship. And they said that if we were to want to do one here in Prairie, that they would quite possibly be able to match us dollar for dollar. Had an LSLE board meeting, and I know that one of the topics that many people were asking about was the resignation of the executive director, which was received, and we were disappointed that he did put it in. But we did discuss the possibility of how to replace the position as well as how to keep the projects going. And we proposed to the executive director, Ali Morrow, if he wanted to continue on in a contract position, looking after some of the projects. And at this point, that's being entertained, which we're hopeful that everything will kind of stay together that way at this point. And then there's lots of different projects that have lots to do with the area, but the ones that are related more to our area is that the group is considering approving a regional study to determine the trade need in the area, which would support some sort of regional training facility, as well as they are also supporting East Prairie's initiative. Oh, do I spell that wrong? I'm trying to build an emergency access road, which Lynn was talking about, and they're asking for a lot of support. And there's a whole bunch of stuff at the intermunicipal negotiating committee, but most of it was touched on already. You guys saw a number of the results of that meeting. And I mentioned that. Oh, just that there was a recommendation that both councils investigate the possibility of creating a intermunicipal development planning commission. And they brought that up a couple times. And I think there was something like that in the past. It's been a while since we've actually had a planning commission that had to do with developing with the MD, which is really something we should look at going forward, because we have a small group there, and they having a small group doesn't really allow us to grow together. And then lastly was at the school division roundtable without Mr. Carrier. Saw your tag there. Which was actually a really great discussion about education in the area and how the community can get involved in the community input in education in Prairie. They had all the principals from all the different schools sort of giving us a synopsis of what they do and some of their programming, and looking for support from the community as to what other things we thought we could support or what we'd like to see coming out of this school. But if anybody wants any more information on that, maybe send me a report and I can move forward. Everybody?
Any questions on the report? Move for information?
Move my report for information.
All in favor? One of the things that did come up, I believe at LSLEA and also has come up in various places, is that George Wright from the Lesser Slave Regional Tourism has resigned. I'm not sure if I've told you this before or not, but we're not a member of that. However, that is the tourism that encompasses MD of the Lakes, MD of Lesser Slave River, Town of Slave Lake. There's 3 members. So I'm not sure how that is going to play out, because it's a very inactive group. And I'm not sure how the MD is going to react, because the funding of that is something that Mr. Wright was going to come and ask if the High Prairie wanted to ever get into it, but he never really got to the table, which is probably just as well, because it's a $20,000 to $25,000 hit, and I don't think we have the money for that amount. So that's what the MD is paying, and I think Town Slave Lake is paying that, and I think Lesser Slave Lake is paying it. So there's a $79,000 tab to run that organization, but it does promote tourism in Lesser Slave. So it's just something that should come up, or it will be coming up, and it will be probably a discussion as to how are we going to encourage tourism in our area, and actually I think the MD is going to be looking at, are they getting bang for their buck when it seems to be more tourism oriented at that end of it. So, anyways, he's got another month. I think he had to give 6 weeks notice or 3 months notice. He had to give enough notice anyways, because I thought he was walking off, but apparently he's still there. All right, so if there is nothing else, which I believe there is nothing else, then we will take a 5-minute break and we will go. Okay. Unless you want 10 minutes? We're just going to camera. So we're going 10:05? No. Yeah, 10:05. We're going to take a 10-minute break.